Watch anyone in their late 70s get out of a low, soft chair, and you can read the whole story in about 4 seconds. The hands reach for the armrests. The body rocks forward once, twice, a third time to gather momentum. Then comes the push, the wobble, the little hold at the top to make sure the legs are actually going to hold. Most of us watch that and think, well, that's just getting old. It usually isn't. It's something far more specific than age, and far more fixable. The exact muscles that stand you up have gone quiet, and the daily walk you've been counting on to fix them isn't waking them back up. That's the part almost nobody explains. So let me be blunt about it. If your legs shake after a few steps, if you plan your day around which chairs you can actually escape from, if you've quietly started taking the elevator for a single floor, your body is not failing you. A specific set of muscles has gone to sleep from underuse, and there is a specific way to wake them up that has almost nothing to do with how far you walk. 30 years in emergency medicine taught me something that changed how I think about all of this. The fall that ends someone's independence almost never starts with the fall. It starts months earlier, with a chair that quietly got harder to leave, a stair that started needing the railing, legs that began announcing themselves at the end of a short walk. By the time somebody hits the floor, the weakness has usually been building in silence for a year or more. I once had a patient, Eleanor, 73, from Des Moines, who came in after a fall in her own kitchen. She told me, almost embarrassed, that she'd known for months her legs were going, that she'd stopped going down to the basement because she wasn't sure she could get back up. Nobody had ever told her that the weakness itself was treatable. That conversation is half of why I make these videos. So tonight, before we touch a single exercise, I want to give you a way to measure where your legs actually are. 3 warning signs that mean see a doctor before you do any of this, and then 5 movements you can do lying flat in bed that target the muscles walking leaves behind. Stay with me, because the order matters, and the very first thing costs you 30 seconds and a kitchen chair. Let's start with why the walking advice, as good as it sounds, keeps failing the people who need it most. Walking is wonderful for your heart, your mood, your blood sugar, your sleep. I will never talk you out of a walk. But here's the mechanical truth. Muscles only grow stronger when you ask them to do something a little harder than they are already used to. That is the whole principle, and it has a name in every exercise lab in the country. Overload. When your legs are strong, walking gives them just enough of a nudge to matter. But when your legs are weak, walking on flat ground is no longer hard enough to count as overload at all. Your muscles are already close to maxed out, just carrying you across the room, so the walk maintains them. It does not build them. And that is the cruel little trap so many seniors fall straight into. Walking every day, faithfully, for months, and feeling exactly as weak at the end as they did at the start. It is not that they failed. It is that walking was the wrong tool for the job of rebuilding. And this matters far more than comfort or convenience. After about the age of 50, most adults quietly lose muscle every single year unless they actively push back against it, and strength fades even faster than muscle size does. That slow, silent leak is why standing up gets harder, why balance gets shakier, and ultimately why people fall. Around 1 in 4 Americans over 65 falls every year, and falls are the #1 cause of injury, and of injury death in older adults. Now here is the genuinely hopeful half of that. When researchers test what actually prevents those falls, plain walking barely moves the needle, but targeted strength and balance training moves it a great deal. A well-studied strength and balance routine developed in New Zealand, the same family of movements we are about to do, has been shown to cut falls by roughly a third in older adults. And when scientists pool all the trials together, exercise like this drops the rate of falling by about a quarter. Walking keeps your heart young. Strength keeps you upright and on your own 2 feet. You need both, and most people are only doing one of them. So before anything else, let's find out where your legs actually stand today. Because you cannot tell whether you are improving if you never measured the starting line. Here is a test that physical therapists and the CDC both use, and you can do it this minute with a sturdy chair pushed against a wall so it cannot slide. Sit in the chair with your arms crossed over your chest, so you cannot cheat by pushing off. And for 30 seconds, stand all the way up and sit all the way down, as many times as you safely can. Count them. That number is your baseline, and I want you to write it down somewhere you will find it again, because 2 weeks from now, you are going to repeat this exact test. If you cannot stand even a single time without using your hands, please hear me. That is not a failure, and it is not a verdict. It is the single most useful piece of information you will get tonight, because it tells you your legs are the thing to work on, starting this evening, and it tells you which of these 5 exercises to lean on the hardest. Keep the chair behind you the whole time, and if you feel dizzy standing, stop and just note that too, because dizziness on standing is its own separate thing worth mentioning to your doctor. Now, the part I need you to hear before you get excited and start doing bridges. Most weak, shaky legs are simply out of shape, and out of shape is fixable. But a small number of times, weak or trembling legs are not a fitness problem at all, and doing a workout instead of getting seen can cost you dearly. So here are the 3 signs that means stop and get help first. Sign 1, and this is the true emergency. Leg weakness that comes on suddenly, especially on just one side, and especially if it arrives with a drooping face, slurred speech, sudden confusion, or a weak or numb arm. That is not deconditioning. That can be a stroke, and with a stroke, every single minute of brain matters. You call 911 and you do not drive yourself or let someone talk you into waiting to see if it passes. Sign 2, a new pain, swelling, warmth, or redness in one calf, particularly after a long stretch of sitting, a long car or plane trip, or a spell in bed. That can be a blood clot in a deep vein, and the worst thing you can do is massage it or exercise it, because a piece can break loose and travel to your lungs. That is a same-day call to your doctor or a trip to urgent care, not a night of ankle pumps. And sign 3, the quiet one. If your legs are already giving way underneath you, if you have had a fall or a couple of near falls recently, or if the weakness is clearly and steadily getting worse week over week instead of just sitting flat, get a proper evaluation before you begin any program, because weakness that is actively progressing can be pointing at something a doctor genuinely needs to catch early. Take a breath now, because I do not want to scare you off the floor. Those 3 are the rare exceptions, and they are loud on purpose. The everyday version, the legs that are just tired and underused and a little shaky, is by far the common one, and it is exactly the one that responds beautifully to what comes next. You are not chasing perfection here. You are finding a starting point and a direction. So let's rebuild your legs the way you would climb a staircase, one rung at a time, beginning with the gentlest movement and working up to the strongest. The bottom rung is the ankle pump, and I know it looks almost too small to bother with. Lying on your back, you simply point your toes down toward the foot of the bed, hold for a moment, then pull them back up toward your face and hold again. Here is why it earns the first spot instead of no spot at all. Your calves are a second heart. Every time they squeeze, they push blood out of your lower legs and back up toward the center of your body. And when you have been sitting or lying still for hours, that pump goes quiet and blood pools, which is exactly why legs feel heavy, swollen, and tingly by evening. Ankle pumps switch that pump back on, and they are standard care in every hospital in the country for precisely this reason, to keep the blood moving in people who cannot get up yet. Do them slowly, a genuine 2-second hold in each direction, and really squeeze the calf at the bottom as if you were pressing a gas pedal to the floor. Aim for 15 or 20, a few times through the day, morning, afternoon, and again before sleep. There are 2 mistakes to avoid. The first is flicking your feet fast, which turns it into a meaningless wiggle that engages nothing. Slow and deliberate is the entire point. The second is only pointing and forgetting to pull the toes back up, when it is the full range in both directions that does the work. This one helps absolutely everyone, but it is especially powerful if you sit most of the day, if you are recovering from surgery, or if your ankles puff up by nightfall. Warmer, lighter-feeling legs within a few days are your sign it is working, and better circulation makes every rung above this one land harder. The second rung is the heel slide, and this is where we start training the exact movement you miss the most, standing up. Lying flat, You slide one heel slowly along the bed toward your backside, bending the knee as it travels. Keep that heel touching the sheet the whole way. Hold at the top, then slide it smoothly back down. That bend and return is the identical motion your hip and knee make every time you rise from a chair or step up a stair. Except here your bed carries all the weight, so your joints get the practice without the load. Slide slowly enough that each direction takes about 4 seconds, so your muscles do the work instead of momentum, and breathe out as you draw the heel in. 10 to 12 on each leg, once or twice a day. This one is a genuine gift for cranky knees, because the gentle bending bathes the joint in its own fluid, with no pounding at all, so it is often the very first exercise I suggest for someone with arthritis. 2 mistakes to dodge: letting the heel pop up off the mattress, which quietly turns it into an easier, useless version, so keep it kissing the sheet the whole time, and rushing, which lets momentum steal the work your thigh should be doing. To get more out of it, gently squeeze the front of your thigh as the heel travels up, as if drawing your kneecap toward your hip, and now you are training the quadriceps and the hip together in one slide. The third rung is the straight leg raise, and it is one of the most studied movements in all of physical therapy for a simple reason. It goes straight after your quadriceps, the big muscles on the front of your thighs, and your quads are the single most important muscle for standing, for walking, and for not falling. When they fade, knees buckle and chairs win. Here is the safe way to do it. Bend one knee with that foot planted flat on the bed, which protects your lower back, and leave the other leg straight out. Before you lift a thing, tighten the thigh of the straight leg by drawing your kneecap up toward your hip. Then raise the whole straight leg about a foot off the mattress. Hold it there for a slow count of 5, and lower it back down over 3 or 4 seconds. That pre-tightening is not optional. Skip it and you will end up hauling on your hip instead of building your thigh. Keep the lifted leg straight as a plank, and do not heave it higher than a foot, because the extra height simply hands the work over to your hip flexors and strains your lower back. 8 to 10 reps aside, 2 sets, once a day to begin. If it helps, count the 5-second hold out loud, which forces you to keep breathing and stops you rushing. This is the movement people credit a month later when they climb a full flight of stairs without reaching for the railing for the first time in years. Their thighs, as more than one patient has put it, simply feel awake again. The fourth rung is the glute bridge, and it fires up the single most neglected muscle in the entire older body, your glutes, the powerful muscles of your backside. Physical therapists have a saying that your glutes are the engine of your lower half, and when that engine quits, your knees, your hips, and your lower back all have to limp along doing its job until they wear out early. Strong glutes are also your body's own built-in fall prevention system, the muscles that catch and correct you when your balance tips. Lying on your back, bend both knees with your feet flat and about hip-width apart. Press down through your heels, squeeze your backside hard, and lift your hips until there is a straight line running from your knees to your shoulders, and no higher. Hold there for 5 seconds with the squeeze switched on the whole time, then lower slowly. The number one error, and it is extremely common, is heaving upward with your lower back instead of your glutes. If you feel the effort in your back, you have it backwards. The fix is to squeeze your buttocks first, before your hips ever leave the bed, and the backache vanishes. The second error is letting your knees drift inward or flare outward, so keep them stacked over your ankles. 10 to 12 reps, 2 sets. The people who stay with this one tell me the same thing again and again. Getting up off a low couch or up off the toilet quietly stopped being a daily struggle within a few weeks. And the top rung, the strongest of the 5, is the quad set, which looks like nothing at all and does an enormous amount. Lying with your legs straight, you press the back of your knee down into the mattress and squeeze that big thigh muscle as hard as you possibly can. Hold it, and then release. There is no movement whatsoever, and that is exactly the point. It is called an isometric contraction, and here is the fact that surprises people. You can generate almost a maximal muscle contraction this way, with 0 joint motion. That is precisely why physical therapists hand quad sets to people the day after knee surgery, when the joint is not allowed to move but the muscle is desperate to work. For you, It means you can push a muscle hard enough to genuinely build it even if every other exercise on this list bothers you. Even if you are stuck in bed. Even if your knees are full of arthritis, because nothing bends. Take one leg at a time, press down like you truly mean it, and hold for a full 10 seconds. Because the deep muscle only really switches on in those last few seconds when it starts to burn. Then relax completely for 5 seconds and go again, 10 times, before switching legs. A weak little press gives you a weak little result. The effort you pour into the squeeze is the entire exercise. Now, one honest caution on this one that a lot of videos skip, because I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. Straining hard against something while holding your breath can spike your blood pressure for a moment, and if your blood pressure already runs high, that matters. So the rule is simple and it makes the exercise safer for everyone. Never hold your breath during the squeeze. Breathe slowly and steadily the whole 10 seconds, and if it helps, count out loud, because you cannot count and hold your breath at the same time. Do that, and even folks with high blood pressure can usually do quad sets comfortably. But if yours is poorly controlled, run it past your doctor first. And here is a bonus that nearly doubles the value. While you press the knee down, also pull your toes up toward your face, and now you are working the shin and the calf right along with the thigh, up the whole length of the leg. I know what a few of you are thinking right about now, because I hear it every time. How on earth can lying flat in bed be enough when the gym crowd is out there lifting weights? Here is the answer. Weak muscles do not need heavy weight. They need honest effort. And effort is something you supply, not something the dumbbell supplies. A quad set done at your true maximum asks more of a deconditioned thigh than a stroll around the block ever will. The bed is not the easy option. It is the safe platform that lets you push hard without your balance, your joints, or a fall standing in the way. And if you have had a hip or knee replaced, these gentle, no-impact movements are usually ideal, but the honest answer is to check with your surgeon or therapist about your specific joint before you start, because they know exactly what your hardware can take. There is one more piece that the exercise videos almost always leave out, and without it you will work hard for half the payoff. Muscle is built from raw material, and that raw material is protein. Here is the quiet problem. As we age, our bodies actually get less efficient at turning food into muscle, so older adults need more protein than younger ones, not less. And yet this is exactly the group that tends to drift toward tea and toast and skips it. You do not need powders or shakes. You need a real source of protein at each meal, spread through the day rather than piled into dinner, because your muscles can only use so much at once. An egg or two at breakfast, some Greek yogurt or a handful of nuts midday, a palm-sized piece of fish, chicken, beans, or lentils at supper. Think of the exercise as the signal that tells the muscle to rebuild, and the protein as the bricks it rebuilds with. Send the signal with no bricks on site, and construction stalls. If your appetite has shrunk or money is tight, a can of tuna, eggs, cottage cheese, and dried beans are about the most protein you can buy for the least, and they beat any supplement on the shelf. So how do you actually string this together without it becoming a chore you quit by Friday? You do not do all 5 in one heroic session. If you can only manage one single thing tonight, do the quad set, because it asks the least of your joints and the most of your muscle. Add the ankle pumps whenever you are already lying down, since they cost you nothing. Then, as you get steadier, fold in the heel slides, the straight leg raises, and the bridges. One new rung roughly every week, until you are moving through all 5 in about 10 or 15 minutes. Most nights, not every night, your muscles rebuild on the rest days, not just the work days. And here is the rule that matters more than any rep count at this stage of life. Consistency beats intensity, every single time. One honest set that you actually do beats a perfect program you abandon by the weekend. One small habit has a quiet way of pulling the next one along behind it. Then, in 2 weeks, go back to that same kitchen chair and run the 30-second test again. Count your stands and hold that number up against the one you wrote down tonight. That count climbing, even by just 1 or 2, is your proof, in plain black and white, that the muscles are waking back up, and it is the single best motivation I know to keep you going when the novelty wears off. If you want to be thorough about it, keep a scrap of paper by the bed and jot down which exercises you did each night. 2 weeks of little check marks will tell you more about your future independence than any bathroom scale or step counter ever could. Let me pull this whole thing into something you can carry in your head and act on. Weak, shaky legs are usually not old age. They are quiet, underused muscles, and walking alone will not rebuild them, because for weak legs a flat walk simply is not hard enough to count as real work anymore. So, first, measure. 30 seconds of standing from a chair with your arms crossed, and write the number down. Second, rule out the danger before you exercise. Sudden, one-sided weakness is a stroke and a 911 call. A hot, swollen, painful calf is a possible clot and a same-day visit. And legs that are actively getting worse deserve a doctor's eyes before a workout. And third, climb the staircase. From the humble ankle pump at the bottom, all the way up to the quad set at the top, letting your bed carry the weight your joints cannot. Measure, rule out, then climb. That is the entire map. So here is your one small step for tonight, and nothing more than this. Before you turn out the light, do the quad set. Just once on each leg, 10 honest seconds, breathing the whole way through, so your body remembers what a real, deliberate contraction actually feels like. That is your first rung, and it is the hardest one to take, only because it is the one that decides whether the rest ever happens. And if you know someone whose legs have started shaking, who has begun quietly avoiding chairs and stairs the way Eleanor did, send them this, and point them especially to those 3 warning signs. Because knowing when weak legs are an emergency rather than a workout is the part that genuinely saves people. Your legs have carried you your whole life. Give them 2 honest weeks of attention and let them surprise you.